At this moment, the two martial artists stared intently, and then one of them spoke. There isn't a single ripple of spiritual energy around him. Could he just be an ordinary woodcutter? The other stroked his chin and remarked, looking at how dazed and confused he is, he probably isn't a spy sent by the Tiger Leap Empire. And Xiao thought to himself, you guys are the idiots, but what corner of the Starfall continent is this, where even the gatekeeping martial artists have a 9-star martial master cultivation? Having finished his thoughts, and Xiao quickly bowed and said, my two lords, this humble one begs your leave to go first. The explosion just now still has my head buzzing. One of them jerked his chin and said, you don't look like you have any spiritual energy. Your family must be too poor to enter the cultivation hall. Quickly hand over your pass so I can record it, and then you may leave. The other one suddenly looked behind them, highly alert. And Xiao inwardly wondered about the place called the cultivation hall and stammered, a pass. My lord, I only went into the forest to chop wood. Why would I bring such a thing? Meanwhile, the other man had turned around to search for something. He suddenly drew his sword from its scabbard, posing in a stance ready to charge and attack. Then he shouted loudly, who is hiding over there? Come out right now. A guy hiding behind a large tree trunk whispered softly, hiding from what? Why would this venerable one need to hide from people like you? But immediately after, the fellow clutched his head and groaned, my head hurts so much. What on earth happened? Why can't I remember anything? Where is this place? Why am I? The brown-haired man asked loudly, the one who fell from the sky just now was you, wasn't it? The green-haired man rushed over and declared confidently, then you are definitely a spy sent by the Tiger Leap Empire. Both martial artists swung their weapons at the same time, closing in as they shouted, accept your death, brat. Seeing this, Guchaoxi smirked with arrogant disdain. How laughable. A few mere martial masters dare to raise their hands against me. But right after that, he muttered to himself in doubt, wait, what is a martial master? Why do I suddenly know this term? Disregarding the two martial artists who were rushing right up to him, he was still lost in thought. Although I have forgotten many things, there is one thing I remember very clearly. He confidently flashed a set of gleaming white teeth and declared grandiosely, you martial masters are incredibly weak. However, the very next second, the fellow took a painful blow straight on, his eyes wide with horror. The two martial artists struck repeatedly while laughing mockingly. You talked so big, I thought you were some great expert from somewhere, but turns out you were just a weak, useless loser. He was beaten to a pulp amidst a cloud of dust, his distorted face looking incredibly foolish. And Xiao stood to one side, crossing his arms and enjoying the show as he thought to himself, so similar, it really is indescribably similar. He thought this scenario where someone acts all invincible at first, only to be beaten to a pulp by some nameless lackeys moments later, looks all too familiar. This scene cannot help but make me feel nostalgic for an old friend from years ago. He then thought of his two disciples, thinking, back when they were weak and knave, they looked much more adorable. Unlike now, where one is always surpassing me, while the other is constantly plotting to usurp my position as the second in command of the sect. The martial artist stood looking at Chaoxi, who was lying miserably on the ground, and sneered, is the Tiger Leap Empire on the verge of ruin to have sent such an idiot to provoke us? The martial artist raised his sword high, ready to deliver a finishing blow, and yelled for his opponent to die. And Tiu picked up the stone and thought to himself, although he wasn't sure if this guy was as crazy as the others, executing him right away would be too hasty. And Tiu decided to act, telling himself he would definitely protect this young man's life. And Tiu leaped up, concealed the stone in his hand, and continued thinking, if it was just a pure muscle strength contest, those two soldiers were no match for me. Initially, I planned to extract some information from them, but now I have no choice but to save the kid first and then figure out how to escape. And Tiu strained his glutes, throwing the stone forcefully, creating a loud whistling sound in the wind, but unfortunately it went completely off course. The stone flew straight and hit the unconscious uncle and nephew with a critical blow to the head, causing the nephew's face to contort in pain. The souls of the unfortunate uncle and nephew instantly departed their bodies. And Tiu stood dumbfounded, scratching his head in confusion, while the two martial artists also turned around in surprise to see what had just happened. The martial artist turned and asked why you killed him, or are you an accomplice trying to silence him? And Tiu hurriedly waved his hands, protesting his innocence. Your Excellency, it's a false accusation. I just heard he was from the Medicine Tiger Empire and my blood boiled, so I threw the stone. The martial artist asked suspiciously, you have no spiritual energy, so where did you get such great strength? And Tiu quickly replied, Your Excellency, I've been naturally strong since birth. The martial artist ordered them to be taken to prison for further interrogation, and at that moment, a brilliant red aura suddenly erupted from the bodies of the uncle and nephew. And Tiu broke out in a cold sweat and timidly asked the martial artist, Your Excellency, may I ask a small question? Do demonic manifestations like this often occur in your area? The uncle and nephew lying on the ground suddenly rose slowly, radiating a fresh red killing aura filled with danger around their bodies. The martial artist cried out in alarm to his comrade, while he hasn't fully recovered. Let's use all our strength to destroy him now. And Tiu stared blankly, mumbling, oh dear, are the villains in this world this clever? Haven't they ever heard of the inviolability rule when a superhero is transforming? The two martial artists simultaneously swung their swords fiercely at the uncle and nephew. The uncle and nephew calmly clamped the sharp sword blades with 2 fingers, thinking to himself, every time I taste death. A colossal surge of energy suddenly exploded from his body, throwing both martial artists far away. He continued to think, it becomes a catalyst for me to become stronger than before. The uncle and nephew glanced at Tiu and asked, Kid, you have no spiritual energy and no killing intent towards me, so it was them who attacked and killed me just now, right? It's infuriating, I've forgotten everything that happened before. He turned to Antiu and said, I want to make things difficult for you. Just answer 2 questions for me. Where is this place and which direction leads to the nearest town? Antiu, sweating profusely, answered awkwardly, whether you believe it or not, these 2 questions truly stump me because I am just a new recruit who just arrived here. Antiu was secretly horrified. After just one near-death experience, his strength had leaped from martial novice to 9th grade martial master. What kind of monster is this? System, have you ever heard of this? Unlike the 2 nominal martial masters from before, this guy seemed to have gone through countless difficult trials and training. The spiritual energy emanating from him was extremely condensed and stable. The uncle and nephew suddenly knelt on the ground, clutching their heads and crying out in pain from a severe headache. He panted and asked Antiu in confusion, Hey brother, who exactly are you? Do we know each other from before? Antiu observed carefully and thought to himself, it seems his memory is in a state of extreme chaos. Could this be a lingering effect from his recent return from the brink of death? The Manhwa silently evaluated him. Although he had lost his memory, by instinct he was not cruel, and he didn't even bother to use force to threaten someone without spiritual energy like me. It seems this guy is not a wicked person who enjoys brutal killing. Not to mention, he also possesses an incredibly bizarre ability to resurrect and physically strengthen himself. Brother Tu immediately made a decision. This kid indeed has a deep connection with my eternal sect. Then, Tu suddenly rushed forward, grabbed his shoulders tightly, and cried out dramatically, My dear brother, have you lost your memory again? Tu wailed so tragically that it left the system completely speechless. I am your sworn brother, as close to you as your own father. I brought you to this Zenwei Empire to cure your amnesia. Don't worry, I will definitely cure you. Let me help you rewrite your lost memories. The system, utterly speechless, gave a notification, a bearer of a reincarnated soul. Host, your underworld realm is about to welcome its king of hell.